It was the year Los Angeles finally had the big one, or so they thought. Monaco won its first and only Eurovision Song Contest, and a host of classic albums were released to the public, very few of which I had any interest in as a 7 and 8-year-old, but which I learned to like later, and a couple of which have made my list. The year was 1971. I'm TC Kirkham of the Kirkham Report. This is Vinyl Recall. Hey, Vinyl community, TC Kirkham here, the Kirkham Report. Welcome to Vinyl Recall. This is my take on Vinyl Richie's year-by-year top 10 albums list, and I started it last week, and I'm doing it again this week. We're up to 1971. I was 7 and 8 years old. There were a lot of good albums that came out in 1971 that I enjoyed, pop albums. There were also a lot of rock albums that became classics, most of which I didn't listen to at the time, and I still don't listen to. But there are a couple of albums that were critically acclaimed that are in my top 10. Of course, you know I'm going for me. This is me we're talking here, so it's going to be mostly pop or a few other things as well. In fact, one of them in this pile is not music at all, and another one is a demonstration record. But of all the stuff I own, I can't go by CD because I own a number of CDs from 1971, but I can't include them. I have, let's see, I have Harmony by Three Dog Night on CD. I have a couple of other ones here on my list on CD, and I listen to a lot of them on Spotify or digital. Some of them I have on digital, but I don't have them on vinyl, and this is only for the vinyl that I have. So these are the top 10 albums of 1971 as far as I was concerned, going by what I have now. Now, some of these I've just picked up in more recent years, but I've had them or I've known them, or I fell in love with them when I got them, and since they're from 1971, they definitely count. One of those is at number 10. I had heard his music all my life by other artists. I had one album by him from 1973 or 74 that I really liked. This album is the album that put him on the map as an artist as well as a songwriter, and its cool packaging makes it super special. I picked it up from Adam at Record Crate, I believe, a couple of years ago, and it's filled with the songs that other artists made hits for him. This is Paul Williams and Just an Old-Fashioned Love Song. It has a very cool die-cut sleeve there, so you can take the little booklet out, and it shows it on the inner sleeve right there. And very cool advertising of the time. Classic A&M Records label. This album does feature a number of hits that were major songs for other artists, including the title track, which Three Dog Night had a major hit with. It also includes Paul's original version of We've Only Just Begun, which was from the Crocker Bank commercial originally that he and his partner Roger Nichols wrote. In addition, also includes Waking Up Alone, I Never Had It So Good, That's Enough for Me, A Perfect Love, Just an Old-Fashioned Love Song, Let Me Be the One, Simple Man, When I Was All Alone, My Love and I, and Gone Forever. Of course, Let Me Be the One also made famous by Carpenters on, never released as a single, but it was a popular album track. And Paul's version is just as fantastic. Paul was not thought of much as a singer. Because he had that very strange warbly voice. But I'll tell you something. I always kind of enjoyed that, and I really got to enjoy that when he guested on the Muppet Show later. I'm just trying to see something. It's just the way the album's made. A little bit weird here the way it's set up, but it's a great album, and I'm very glad I picked it up when I did a couple years ago. Number 10 on my 1971 list, Paul Williams and Just an Old-Fashioned Love Song. Number 9 is the demonstration record I was telling you about. It's limited edition. You can't buy it in stores. And I'm into... On radio, they called the format Beautiful Music. Now, the reason I enjoy that format is because my mother listened to it when I was a kid, and it grew on me as I got older, and I would eventually leave it on all night long when I was sleeping. I would turn on the Beautiful Music channel and have that wafting through the room as I fell asleep. Depending on where we lived, I was in Washington State most of the time when that was happening in my junior high and high school years. I was either listening to KPQ FM Wenatchee, which is now a sports talk radio station, or KEZE, Keezy Listening from Spokane. I love that kind of stuff, and that's what this is, only this is for stores, basically. And these are not covers, which most of them like this are covers. Some of these are covers, but not all of them. And some of them are originals. This is Now Sounds Volume 2 from the Seaberg Background Music Library. In other words, it's an album of background music. It features instrumental versions from a number of different artists. The artists are not listed on the album sleeve, unfortunately, but it does include Love for Sale, Close to You, Whoever You Are, I Love You, Moment to Moment, What Are You Doing the Rest of My Life, It's So Nice to Have a Man Around the House, Baby Dream Your Dream, A Certain Smile, We've Only Just Begun, Tin Roof Blues, I Got Love, Our Language of Love, Music Maestro Please, And I Love Her, and Feeling Groovy. Again, picked this up from Record Crate a couple years ago. Love stuff like this. I have several Muzak albums too, but this one came out in 1971, so it qualifies. Now Sounds Volume 2. Number 8 on my list. Please don't mind all the markups and stuff, because again, I was a kid, didn't really know any better at the time, but I talked about them last week, and I'll talk about them this week. This will probably be the last week, because I didn't really like the later stuff that well. Number 8, The Sound Magazine by the Partridge Family. Can't see the blueprint. It's a blurring out right there, but it does say in blueprint, starring Shirley Jones, featuring David Cassidy. The color was just wonky on that. And then, of course, on the back of the titles, all marked up. This was the album from the second season, first half, including One Night Stand, Brown Eyes, Echo Valley 26809, You Don't Have to Tell Me, Rainmaker, I'm on My Way Back Home, Summer Days, I Would Have Loved You Anyway, 24 Hours a Day, I Woke Up in Love This Morning, and Love Is All That I Ever Needed. One big thing about this particular album, and I didn't know it at the time, and I wouldn't realize it until several years after his big run of hits. This album introduced me to the music of Rupert Holmes. Rupert Holmes, who I'd heard Timothy but didn't know he was producing it, wrote Echo Valley 26809, which was a popular enough album track that it made their greatest hits album in 1973. From 1971, however, at number 8, The Partridge Family Sound Magazine by the Partridge Family. At number 7, this group does not get the respect they deserve. They had 3 really, well, 2 sizable and a third pretty good pop hits on the Hot 100, one of which went to number 1. They had a string of R&B hits at the same time from the same albums. And people remember the bands, the groups, like the Supremes, both with and then later without Diana Ross. They remember the Fifth Dimension, which was half men, half women. They remember Temptations, Four Tops, all that great stuff from Motown. But very, very rarely does anyone mention Honeycomb, number 7, Soulful Tapestry. I've had this since I was about 10. I found it in a cutout bin about a year or two after it came out. This has I think it has all three. This has all three of their major pop hits and a fourth one that was a bigger hit on the R&B chart. It has their number 1 smash Want Ads, their follow-up single Stick Up, and One Monkey Don't Stop No Show. It also has the R&B hit Don't Count Your Chickens Before They Hatch, as well as a little more, Who's It Gonna Be, How Does It Feel, VIP, The Day I Found Myself, and All the King's Horses. 2 or 3 of these other ones were R&B hits too off of the first album, which I also have. I think it Sweet, I can't remember the Sweet Reprise, I think is the name of it. I'm not sure. They repackaged it to sell it better, added Want Ads, which wasn't, or Stick Up, one of the two, that wasn't on the first album. Sweet Replies, I think it was, actually. And Soulful Tapestry came out. Incredible music. Edna Wright on the lead vocals with Carolyn Willis. She's on the left. Carolyn also would have a hit with Seals and Crofts in the 1970s called Get Closer. The other lady's name escapes me right now. I'm so sorry. Great early 70s pop R&B. Terrific stuff. And I still listen to it every now and then. I just love Want Ads and Stick Up are both classic songs to me. And I love both of those. Number 7, Soulful Tapestry by Honeycomb. Number 6 is the one I was talking about on the last show that has a discrepancy in the date. A lot of places credit it as coming out in 1970. Wikipedia insists that the U.S. release date was May of 1971. That time frame jives with me because I remember having the singles, 2 of the singles from this album, and playing them to death. I don't think I have either one of them anymore. And then a friend of mine, a family friend actually, my mom's friend, who had the whole album, made a tape copy of it for 2 tapes. It took 2 tapes. And I had that through most of my teenage years and into my early 20s. I don't know if I've still got it. I mean, it still worked last time I looked at it. But I did buy the CD deluxe package when I was working for Transworld in the 1990s because I've always loved the music. I've never been able to see it. I've never seen it staged, but I can imagine what it looks like. I've seen footage of it on different places online, and I've seen parts of the film. I never saw the whole film either because everybody said the film wasn't as good as the show. And I have a feeling that's probably true because I am a Rent head. I love Rent, but I wasn't that enamored with the film. They cut some stuff out that I was upset with, and I thought they should have went younger with most of the cast. I don't think they should have used the original film cast, the original Broadway cast. Not that they did a bad job, but I've always been partial to the tour cast, the original tour cast. Myself, because that's who I saw first. But in any case, I have a feeling the same would be for this. Maybe I do need to sit down and watch the whole film from beginning to end. But I know I love the music from the original concept album, Jesus Christ Superstar. I did not have this on vinyl until I joined the vinyl community. I don't remember where I got it, whether I bought it from Adam or Don, or whether I got it in a VCLT from Steve at Value Vinyl. But I've had it on CD for years, like I said. And it's not in the best of shape. It's beat up kind of badly in the cover-wise. But the albums themselves are still in pretty decent shape. Not perfect, but they're still playable. And so I listen to those occasionally, and I listen to the CD, which I have ripped on my computer, because I've always loved the music. My mother was never a fan. She felt it was more blasphemous than religious. She particularly did not like Murray Head's Superstar. But the stars of this, by the way, are Ian Gillian, Murray Head, Yvonne Elliman, which is where I became a huge fan of hers. Victor Brox and Barry Dennen do most of the lead vocals on that. she was never a fan of Superstar, which I really loved when I was the year before when it was out on a single. It was one of the singles I had. And of course, Murray had to wait another 15 years for another hit in America with One Night in Bangkok from Chess. But Jesus Christ Superstar, the concept album, is amazing. Obviously, a repress. This is not the box, it is a two sleeve set. But absolutely fabulous. And I think everybody feels that way. Number 6, Jesus Christ Superstar, the original concept album, released in the States in May 1971, according to Wikipedia. Um, Number 5 on my list, um, she'd had albums out in the 60s, quite a few of them, quite successful. But this was the album that put her on the map as a true solo star. And it is a fantastic album. It has changed covers a couple of times. It has moved from Cap to MCA for re-releases. But this is the OG. I bought this when I was 7 years old, 7 or 8. 7, I believe. I don't think I turned 8 yet. And listened to it constantly on my little blue GE player, and also on Mom's stereo occasionally, because she actually liked it as well. From 1971, this is Cher. It is now known as Cher Gypsies, Tramps, and Thieves. When you purchase it now, it has The Way of Love, Gypsies, Tramps, and Thieves, He'll Never Know, Fire and Rain, When You Find Out Where You're Going, Let Me Know, He Ain't Heavy, He's My Brother, I Hate to Sleep Alone, I'm in the Middle, Touch and Go, and One Honest Man. I love both of the singles from this album, Gypsies, Tramps, and Thieves, which is very un-PC anymore, because the word gypsy is not really appreciated. Um, I still hear it on oldies channels, though, so that might be one of the few caveats. And The Way of Love, which showed up on one of my on this past weekend's radio retro countdown, actually, from the Macon, Georgia list that I picked up. I also adore Cher's cover of He Ain't Heavy, He's My Brother. The best cover of that song I've ever heard. Um, I'm not fond of the Hollies original. I like the Osmonds version isn't bad, but Cher's knocks it out of the ballpark. From 1971, number 5 on my list, Cher by Cher. Number 4 is an album I've shown before, and it is not music at all, but it is an important record of an important day in 1971. Um, I am still trying to find a way to know if there is still copyright on this, because if there isn't, I'm going to record it and share it with YouTube one of these days, because it is absolutely riveting. If you've seen any of the news specials, like retrospective specials that were made about, there was a great team of, I'm sorry, I've forgotten, I didn't look it up, I should have, a great team of documentary makers who did a show called 102 Minutes That Changed America about the coverage of 9/11. They did another one, 4 days that changed America, from the news footage of the Kennedy assassination and leading up to the assassination of Oswald. They've done some great stuff. This is the radio equivalent, and it is number 4 on my list because it is just an amazing record. February 9th, 1971, the San Fernando Valley's longest day, as reported by KGIL Radio. This was the big one that Los Angeles was expecting. Of course, it really isn't. It was only I say only, but it really, you can't say that, because there were deaths, there were tragedies. I believe it was a 6.2 earthquake on the San Andreas Fault. And here's the news team. I think only one of them is still with us, last time I checked, that worked on this. This is all the live radio coverage from KGIL Radio. They've edited it down to significant reports and something, but for those of us who were not in Los Angeles, it is an amazing record of what happened that day. February 9th, 1971, the San Fernando Valley's longest day, as reported by KGIL Radio, my number 4 album of 1971. Number 3, second time they're on the list this time, and it is with my all-time favorite album by them. This is a newer copy I picked up from Adam. My original, all marked up and stuff, is down here too. I'd forgotten I picked this up until I was going through my still to listen to bin, looking for a couple of things. the other day, and I'm like, oh, good, I do have a good copy of this. Number 3 from 1971, The Partridge Family and Up to Date. This has their hit singles, I'll Meet You Halfway and Doesn't Somebody Want to Be Wanted. I never was a big fan of that song. It also has You Were Always on My Mind, which is one of my favorite Partridge Family songs. Doesn't Somebody Want to Be Wanted? I'll Meet You Halfway. Hey, I'm Here, You're Here, which hit number 1 on the Kirkham Report in 1990 when the albums came back out on CD. Umbrella Man, another one of my favorite songs by them. Lay It on the Line, Morning Rider on the Road, That'll Be the Day, There's No Doubt in My Mind, She'd Rather Have the Rain, and I Leave Myself a Little Time. Um, I was huge into the Partridge Family. I know the vinyl community, quite a few members love them. It's a great sunshine pop. And this copy, Adam actually had a copy that still has the book cover in it that came with it. I used this for my math book when I was in second grade, well, on the original one. And it is in absolutely fantastic shape. Somebody took really good care of this, and I'm so glad because I love this album so much. I have the CD also, and I have it on digital, but it's the original. From 1971, number 3 on my list, The Partridge Family and Up to Date. Number 2 is one of the two, the top 2 are both classic albums. They are classic in the pop world, not in the rock world. Now, I realize Led Zeppelin had some stuff come out in 71 that was Monster and so on and so forth. But I don't gravitate toward that stuff, guys. I really don't. But I do gravitate toward something else. Now, this one is another one that I never had a physical copy of on vinyl until recently. I had 45s from it when I was a kid. I had the CD when the remastered one was issued in 1996 to the 25th anniversary. I picked that up. I also picked up the tribute album because I love this album. Every song on this album is gold, and it is a classic album. Was one of the biggest sellers of the year that year. Carole King, Tapestry. What wasn't a hit off this album? If she didn't have a hit with it, somebody else did. I Feel the Earth Move, So Far Away, It's Too Late, Home Again, Beautiful, Way Over Yonder, You've Got a Friend, Where You Lead, Will You Love Me Tomorrow, Smackwater Jack, Tapestry, and You Make Me Feel Like a Natural Woman. This made Carole King the superstar she should have been back in the 50s and 60s when she was writing with her then husband Jerry Goffin for so many other artists in the Brill Building. It is a fabulous album. I actually got this. I'm pretty sure this one came from Steve at Value Vinyl, and it is in good shape. Not perfect shape by any stretch of the imagination, because it has been pre-loved and pre-worn. But as you can see, it is not in bad shape at all, and it plays beautifully. And I love Carole King. I have picked up some of her other albums after hearing this in the 90s. I loved some of her stuff. I have always loved Really Rosie. Really Rosie was around, I don't know if it'll make my list in 75, probably, but I didn't get it till the 80s when it was reissued because it was so hard to find. But Really Rosie was a TV special she did the soundtrack for, and it was fantastic. A kid's cartoon. And I've loved her since Tapestry, and I always will. Carole King is just one of the greats. Number 2 on my list, Carole King and Tapestry. Number 1, remember what I said last week? You guys have figured out what number 1 is, or you should have by now, knowing me and how much I talk about them. And I actually talked about this last week. Number 1 from 1971, it could only be Carpenters by Carpenters. This is the Tan album. Referred to as the Tan album. It opens up, as you can see, I'm not going to take it out of the case. This is a newer copy I picked up from Dawn at Two Hip Chicks again, I believe. It folds out into a portrait of Karen and Richard that you can put on your piano or whatever, which I did when I was a kid. I had it sitting on my dresser, and this is by far my second favorite album by them. I love everything on it. Rainy Days and Mondays, Saturday, Let Me Be the One, A Place to Hide Away, For All We Know, Superstar, Drusilla Penny, One Love, Bacharach David medley, and Sometimes. You know, maybe it's tied for second with a song for you, because I love that too. Um, and as much as I love Close to You, it's not really. I mean, every year they got better. Karen and Richard were terrific. This album alone spawned four hits. There was Rainy Days and Mondays, For All We Know, Superstar, and the album hit Let Me Be the One. And One Love, there is an incredible video of Karen performing One Love when they hosted Make Your Own Kind of Music in summer of 71 this year. That is available on YouTube if you look around. Look around for Carpenter's One Love, and it'll pull up that clip from Make Your Own Kind of Music, which I want to take this time to talk about Make Your Own Kind of Music for a moment. Make Your Own Kind of Music featured was a summer replacement show. I think it was for... It wasn't the Dean Martin show. It was another show. It was a summer replacement show on NBC. Might have been the Flip Wilson show. It starred Karen and Richard Carpenter, Al Hurt, the Doodletown Pipers, Sandler and Young, I think, were part of the cast, Mark Lindsay of the Raiders, and occasional appearances by Herb Alpert. And it was set up, I don't know why they came up with this setup, and it was, of course, based on the Mama Cass hit, Make Your Own Kind of Music, which was another hit all over again in 2018 in Europe. I've forgotten the artist that did it, but it was a really great version of that song. I have always loved that song. I have a version by Bobby Sherman also that's great. Anyway, the show was mostly Karen and Richard. They were featured the most. And they, for some reason, it was a show based on the alphabet. Now, whether they got this idea from Sesame Street, I don't know, but it certainly didn't come from the song Make Your Own Kind of Music. They would start at the letter A and end with the letter Z, and you could always depend on each letter meaning one particular thing. When it came to the cast, A was always A for the first one. A is for Alpert. This is how they did things on this show. And then later on, Al Hurt did it, but H was usually for Al Hurt, K for Karen, R for Richard, C for Carpenters. They got quite a bit of stuff in. M for Mark Lindsay, and so on, comedy and such. It was a really god-awful variety show. And I don't know, I mean, I loved it when it was on. I was 7 or 8. I adored it when it was on. But now I look at the clips on, I look at the comedy clip. There's actually one whole episode is up on YouTube. The first episode is mostly there, but you can the performance clips are fine. Al Hurt, Herb Alpert, the Carpenters, Mark Lindsay, Doodletown Pipers, but the comedy is awful. It didn't even come up to anywhere near laugh-in quality, which might have been another one that might have been a summer replacement show for. And I don't know how Karen and Richard got involved with it. He didn't talk much about it in the new book, Carpenters, The Musical Legacy. Other than they did it. But it is a goofy show, and a lot of the songs on this album, which was their current album at the time, got showcased, including One Love, which is just an absolute favorite. So, running down my top 10 again from 1971. Number 10, Just an Old-Fashioned Love Song by Paul Williams. Number 9, Now Sounds Volume 2 from Seberg Background Music. I love that stuff. What can I say? Number 8, Sound Magazine from the Partridge Family. Number 7, Soulful Tapestry by Honeycomb. If you don't know Honeycomb and you like R&B, check them out, please. They're wonderful. Number 6, the concept album Jesus Christ Superstar. Number 5, Cher, also known as Gypsies, Tramps, and Thieves by Cher. Number 4, February 9th, 1971, The San Fernando Valley's Longest Day from KGIL Radio. Number 3, Up to Date by the Partridge Family. Number 2, Tapestry, Carole King. And number 1, Carpenters by Carpenters. As I said, as weeks go ahead, I'm going to add a few other segments. I haven't had time because I've been getting a new computer this last week, and I want to add some bells and whistles. So eventually in the next 2 or 3 weeks, I'll be slightly shifting the format a little bit. But I hope you've enjoyed this. I enjoy putting them together. It's gut wrenching because I went through and made lists out of Wikipedia and off of Discogs, and then I'm like, oh my god, I don't even have 90% of the stuff that the vinyl community has on this. I have all this goofy crap. Like this year, 71, I could have picked Homemade or Phase 3 by the Osmonds, which I did not do. If I had it on vinyl, I don't. I only have the CD of it. I could have picked the Bugaloos. I was obsessed with the Bugaloos. I have an album by the Double Deckers, which was a British show that was aired on ABC in 1971. I'd still love to get the Bugaloos on vinyl, and I really think they should do a deluxe edition because the CD I bought was a CDR. I don't think it works anymore actually, from somebody selling it, and it had a ton of extra stuff on it. Love to see that come out on vinyl. You listening, Capitol Records? In any case, lots of stuff. Favorite soundtrack, favorite Christmas album. First, of course, favorite Christmas album in 1971 would have been Partridge Family: A Christmas Card, which is just a great Christmas album all the way around. And I did talk about that on somebody's Christmas tag. I forget which one. I think it was Beth. Sorry, Beth, if it was you. I'm sorry. There was so much going on at the time. And I'll do those eventually when I get the special categories here. But for now, if you've already subscribed, thank you very much. And if you haven't, please do. I really appreciate it, and it definitely helps my numbers. A big thumbs up on that thumbs up button would be a big help also. And please leave a comment. I love hearing from you. I got quite a few comments on last week's, and I hope to get as many and maybe more on this one. For Vinyl Recall, I'm TC Kirkham, the Kirkham Report. I will see you soon. Ciao, baby.